Sorry about that. I had to take a good stiff drink before coming on here because the thing is that it's been a little while since I've decided to come on here and give you all a little bit of a talk about certain things that I want to come out unplanned, undressed, and so on and so forth. Now, the last one I did, I was talking about animated films. And the thing is that when I want to come on here and do a live stream and talk about movies, I'll do it when I feel like it. I won't address it. I won't plan it. I'll just do it when I feel like it. I mean, I'll plan it, but I won't say it. This is one of those examples of those little talks I want to give you all within the film world. And yes, this is a film-related stream. I mean, it says so right there in the title. This is a film-related stream. Not anything else. So, folks, Biographical. Everybody knows about Biographical. It is surrounding specifically of a time of event or a person's life. Going into in-depth detail about this particular figure, whether they are someone who was in the sports, who was in the music, political, history, an artist, an author, almost any world and almost in any type of atmosphere in our world. Biopics. Everybody enjoys a good biopic. Everyone wants to see those in-depth details about their favorite person they want to see, or they'll have a certain interest in this particular one. But yes, we all want a particular biographical film about people that we admire, whoever it may be. Majority, if not all, the biographical films that I personally want to see are obviously music related. I would love to see a biographical film about the Bee Gees. I want to see a biographical film, a brand new one surrounding Buddy Holly. You're probably thinking, is the Buddy Holly story going to be on here? The one with Gary Busey? No, it's not, because I was not really much of a fan of that film as an overall. Even though Gary Busey did a phenomenal interpretation, that's a big word right there, interpretation, as Buddy Holly, changing the words up with the songs, playing, etc., etc. I do have the soundtrack as well. But that's not going to be on the list because I would love a brand new biopic film surrounding Buddy Holly. So that alone would be a very nice thing to have. Who else can I think of? I think I said Chuck Berry. There was one about Little Richard, but that one wasn't all that great. There was the film about the Temptations. There was that. Oh my God. I can go on and say ones that are out there in the music world. And I can say ones that I would love to see, but in terms of what I want to see, let's just say I'll think of a little something down the road of musicians that I would love to see get a biographical film. So that'll be another topic for another day. So the biographical films that I have now, you're probably thinking, oh, I'm going to be missing this one on my top 10 list. Why is this not up there? Why is this not higher? Why is this that? Why is this that? Well, guess what? My list! I constructed it myself. I can put it in almost any order that I want. You fucking goddamn buttholes. Sorry about that. I got a little upset there. I had to calm myself down. All right, let me take a look at the comments real quick, see who's here. Yeah, there's one about Queen. There's one Guns N' Roses. No, thank you. Yeah, there is going to be one about the Bee Gees, but I'm going to be that one right there. If I talk about the Bee Gees biopic, I'm going to be here all fucking day. But with all the biographical films that I have written down on my list, I have a lot of honorable mentions that I want to tell you folks right now. Now, ones that I have on here for my honorable mentions, well, I have The Miracle Worker, 1962. If you don't know what that one is, that right there is the biographical film surrounding the early life of Helen Keller, how she met Miss Anne Sullivan, and how they became, how they got their connection, how Anne Sullivan was able to teach Helen Keller the sign language and certain other things as well. Really great movie. Can't believe I didn't put this down. So here we go. As for more of the honorable mentions that I have for you folks, I have A Beautiful Mind, The Social Network, James Dean, the biographical film starring James Franco as James Dean, clever film. The Temptations, the biographical film starring The Temptations. The Social Network, The Wolf of Wall Street, Mank, Sid and Nancy, Get On Up, Love and Mercy, The Theory of Everything, Catch Me If You Can, Rocket Man, 12 Years a Slave, Man on the Moon, Stan and Ollie, What's Love Got to Do with It, Raging Bull, Ali, La Bamba, Lincoln, Straight Outta Compton. Did I say Social Network twice? Well, I apologize. That's okay. If I said it twice, well, there you go. That means double the love, double the pleasure. That's perfectly okay with me. So that right there is my honorable mentions. And if I'm missing any, please let me know, because I know that I am fucking forgetting some. But that's honestly okay. But I did manage to write down a good plethora, a little dossier of honorable mentions for you folks. Now, let's go ahead and get to the number 10. Now, folks, these particular ones that I have managed to rightfully pick here, I had to be very specific on how I wanted to construct this particular list, because the thing is, I wanted to make sure that with all the particular points that was transpiring of what the source material that they took it from, to really turn it into their own and give you all folks that visual presentation of a nice inside look of what transpired in this particular individual's life or current events or the time and place that these things happen. And the way that how this transpired, not only the events, but the person who was able to portray this particular role and the performance they were able to give is just really hard-hitting and deserves all the recognition that they can give. So, starting off with number 10 for me, this, oh my God, I am turning my messenger off. I don't want people talking to me. So, there you go. So, starting off with number 10, we're going to start off with a music one. I mean, go fucking figure. So this particular one here is going to be surrounding one of the greatest country musicians of all time. You're probably thinking, oh, is it Dolly Parton? No. Is it Kenny Rogers? No. Is it Hank Williams? No. Johnny Cash? No. The one that I'm thinking of is Loretta Lynn. You're probably thinking, who's Loretta Lynn? Well, she's arguably known as one of the greatest country musicians of all time in the world of country history. Now, the thing is that the music that she was able to bring, it is just absolute beautiful tunes. It is proper storytelling at its finest and exactly how country music should be. And the fact that Sissy Spacek was portrayed as this particular role was absolutely fitting in the history, learning who she is, how she got into country music, and the sacrifices that she's willing to give for her family to get this fame that she has is just absolutely phenomenal. So my number 10 is Coal Miner's Daughter. Now, this one right here, you're probably wondering, have I ever seen this one before? Well, I'm sure a lot of you folks probably haven't, but if you did, good on you, because this is one of those films to really check out. Now, if you are a fan of country music, I suggest you definitely give Loretta Lynn a listen to. I'm not even a country music person at all. I don't listen to country music. It's not my cup of tea. But I do know some stars that is passable for me. Loretta Lynn is definitely one of those who is just passable. She is just a complete phenomenal artist. This is the beauty about her music, is that her music is the storytelling, the events that transpired in her life, what she's gone through, the pros and cons, the sacrifices and what she's done for people, for her family, and the life that she was able to live to get this fame that she has. She's an absolute pioneer, and I think Sissy Spacek's portrayal as Loretta Lynn was just spot on. Great stuff. I think, you're probably, between this or Carrie, best performance, personally, I'm much more for Coal Miner's Daughter. I think she was much more fluent, and she really portrayed the role absolutely fluently. Innocent soul, and that's what Loretta Lynn has always been. She's an innocent soul, great musician, great work. Okay, number 9. Recently enough, I actually was just rewatching this once again because I figured, you know what? I was having a talk about this film with somebody, and you know what? Maybe I should rewatch it again. Watch the film because it's been a while since I've seen it, but I've seen it probably beforehand. But after a while, revisit it and really cherish this particular experience that I was able to have with this film. And I think this film was worth putting on this particular list. Now, folks, there was a time and place to where we had to sit down and learn about World War II. We had to sit down and learn about different specific characters, leaders, events. A lot of things transpired in World War II that was just absolutely heartbreaking and very melancholy. But if you want to talk about one of the key element figures that we've learned in school about what transpired, whether it's during the World War II or the Holocaust, whether it's after or before. But if you want to talk about somebody's life by just opening up a book and you just get the whole entire documentary right there and just taking that source and turning it into a movie, giving you all that visual presentation of who this individual is, it's very heartbreaking because this young girl, she had a lot of plans for her life. There was a lot of things she wanted to do for herself. She wanted to get into the movies. She cherished the movie stars that she loved during that time. But we all know the history of what transpired in World War II. We all know the current events. But the story of Anne Frank, we've all heard at one point, and that thus goes to my number 9, The Diary of Anne Frank. Almost anybody has probably seen this movie at least some point in their life. If not, please check it out because this film is something that really just goes into a really nice detail of who Anne Frank is. Now, believe it or not, the story of Anne Frank, played by Millie Perkins, and the girl, she was around 21 at this time, 21, 22, somewhere around there. But Millie Perkins, this was her film debut, believe it or not. And the way that she had that innocence appeal to her, just the way she was coming off, the sound of her voice, her overall design, the look that she had in her eyes, the way she was interacting with everybody, just the innocence of a young girl and obviously in puberty, writing the events that's happening in her diary. Oh my God. This Millie Perkins, now she's not much of a well-known actress, but she was lucky enough to star in a movie with Elvis Presley a couple years later on. I think it was 1961. She was able to portray a particular film called Wild in the Country with Elvis Presley. So that alone tells you that there was something good going on for you in the film industry if you were lucky enough to work with Elvis Presley. But back to this particular one. During the period of World War II, again, not going to repeat itself, she and her family end up going hiding with the Van Pels. And this film really reflects the current events that transpired that she written in her diary. And plus, you do see a nice romantic appeal that does happen one by one. That happens little by little as the film progresses. And truly enough, all the connections in this film. See, the point I loved about this film is that, sure, it might have been slow-paced, but what made this film really mesmerizing was all the interactions with everybody. Between Anne and her parents, Anne and the Van Pels, or the Van Pels and the Franks, just, talking to each other about the events, not trying to get caught, the pros and cons in their lives, the beauty, things that they were able to cherish before events happened. This film really reflects a lot of things, not just of who Anne Frank is, but the beauties of life that you should really cherish alone as a human being. This movie is just something to really take a look at. It's really lovely. Really, really fine deliverance of a performance, folks. I mean, it's fucking emotional. When I was watching it just recently, I was getting in my feelings, no joke, because I thought this film was just absolutely beautiful. So that right there is the Diary of Anne Frank, folks. Beautiful, beautiful, intriguing film. Definitely worth watching if you folks have never seen it or obviously never heard of it. All right, number 8. We're going back to the music thing, folks, because knowing me, when I love biopics, I love music. That's what I do. Music is my life. That's what it is. And if it's gonna be biographical films with music, I'm gonna take a look at it. I'm gonna watch it. Yes, Elvis. If anybody's never heard of Elvis Presley, then how the fuck is not? I swear to God, if anybody's not heard of Elvis Presley, please leave, because I will have no words to give. All right, number 8. Speaking of country music, we're going to reflect back to that, because here's the thing, though, folks. During the particular early 50s, there's a lot of pioneered rock and roll stars who grew up listening to genres like gospel and country. They listen to these genres, that becomes a part of who they are. But here's the thing, though. When you want to get signed to a particular record company like Sun Records, which is one of the main foundations of where Johnny Cash got his start, along with Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis Presley, to name some of the biggest well-known names out there in the world of music. But Johnny Cash, we all know, in any part of music, they all start off with rock and roll. Because the thing is that once you start the rock and roll, it's a thing. It's a fad. It's a trend. And everybody wants to be a part of it. Because you know why? You got to get the money. You got to find a start somewhere. Roy Orbison, he started off with the rockabilly. Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, they all got their names from doing the rockabilly style rock and roll, having their own image, looking like good, clean-cut boys, having their own thing. Johnny Cash was one of those many people. Carl Perkins, but Johnny Cash was the one who started off in the rockabilly era, and then as he progressed, started to do gospel, country, and really find his own voice. Storytelling, portrayal music about love, sex, his own life, drugs, you can even say. Yes, Conway Twitty is another one. Proper storytelling is what Johnny Cash was able to bring in his music. The guy is an absolute gem. He is a genius. And Joaquin Phoenix. Everybody knows who Joaquin Phoenix. Oh, but yes, I know Joaquin Phoenix. He's from Joker. I'm just waiting for those types of people to say that too. But Joaquin Phoenix, he's played in phenomenal films. Yes, that is one of them. But when I see Joaquin Phoenix, one of the most notorious pictures that I know from is none other than Walk the Line. Biographical film starring about Johnny Cash, how he was able to fall in love and become with the woman that he absolutely loves dearly. No matter what he does, the obstacles that he is willing to take to fall in love with the woman that he absolutely desires. And here's the thing, though, the woman that he loves, June Carter, not only was the Johnny Cash show where he had his wife June Carter come on with him singing duets with each other, he was determined to be with her. I felt so bad for. Johnny Cash, he had to go through drugs, alcohol. There was a lot of demons that he was fighting through while being a famous musician. And the fact that Joaquin Phoenix showcases that he's able to sing is something absolutely phenomenal. He's got musical talent. He obviously had the look. He had the appeal. He was able to play. He was able to have those proper mannerisms of Johnny Cash. It was just absolutely phenomenal. Great fucking movie. I don't know what else to say much more about it. This is one of those films to really just sit down, admire, and really showcase and give that recognition of who Johnny Cash is. Okay, time for number 7, folks. Let me see what everybody's saying. Did I put 2005? Are you sure? No, it was 2005. Oh, god damn it. I wrote 2003 on there. Oh, well. Not my first time I fucked up something. No, this is a bit of a trend that's going on here. I talked about music. Then I talked about a historical period. Then I talked about music. Now I'm going to talk about historical period again surrounding, well, which is ironically enough, going back to World War II. So, so a bit of a not so well unplanned pattern here, but this is how I arranged the list because I couldn't believe, well, these films that I have. So we all again about World War II. What's there I need to say about what I already said? But the thing is that in World War II, Adolf Hitler, obviously one of the leaders that did many terrible things during World War II. But the thing is that what really led to the downfall, well, I might as well just give it. What led to the downfall of Adolf Hitler was technically showcased in this particular movie. Now, this is one of those films that I really don't see get talked about a lot because, unfortunately, one of the most infamous scenes about this film ended up getting turned into a fucking meme, which ended up being overly redundant and silly and ridiculous. Could it be funny? It depends exactly how the material is used, but I think the memes are kind of stupid. So, Bruno Ganz, who played as Adolf Hitler in this film, well, we all see Adolf Hitler's behind the in-depth look of Adolf Hitler's love life, his plans ceasing, the demise of the Germans getting, well, defeated during World War II, and him as a leader is starting to, well, dwindle down into a spiral where he can't get out of. The betrayals, his demons are starting to come out to where he's going into insanity. And the thing is, folks, when you look at this particular movie, when you just sit there and watch it, you can't even believe the events that this is shit that happened during World War II. This is how evil and sinister that this guy was. And the fact that Bruno Ganz was able to portray Adolf Hitler in such a unbelievable performance, it really does. See, this is one thing I love about watching, either historical or musical, whatever the films there are. The fact that they're able to grab you by the balls and pull you through the TV and give you that belief, that real, legit, believable factor that, hey, this is shit that we've learned about in high school or shit that we learned about in our own time. Or if we saw something on the History Channel and we just heard about it, and we may have seen interviews or details about these particular events that happened in history. But the thing is that do we see a specific in-depth look from how it happened? And the fact that there are movies surrounding particular current events that transpire, and the fact that they're able to take those types of details and turn it into their own and give you folks, the viewer, of what you've learned, that visual look, it really just blows your mind. This is just one of those films that was able to take that and accumulate it so fucking well. This film is just mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing to no end. It's emotional, it's distressful, it's suspenseful, and most of all, it's just jaw-dropping. This is just one of those films, even though it's got, what, 90, 80, I don't know what the fuck percentage is on that Rotten Tomatoes site that people like to go on all the time, but whatever the fucking rating is, I feel like that this is a film that doesn't really get talked about a lot for the sheer brilliance and performances and interactions within this particular film. It's well worth a look at. If you never heard of it, take a look at it. I may talk about another time with a little more details about it, but we shall see. Okay, time for number 6, my friends. I want everybody to take a guess exactly what my number 6 is going to be, in not the film itself, but what it's surrounding. Take a wild fucking guess. Just one little guess. I'll wait. Well, whoever guessed, you are correct. It's music again. It's music. We're gonna be talking about another music pick. Well, hey, would you rather have me talk about wrestling or music? You choose. Music or wrestling? It's one of the two that you're gonna pick. I choose music. Fuck you, assholes. Nope, not Mr. Rogers, unfortunately. Number 6, you folks probably never even heard of this movie at all, which honestly won't even surprise me. But for those people out there who do listen to music and know the name Joy Division, then you might know what I'm talking about. Oh, is it love will tear us apart? I'm just waiting for people to only say that song. Joy Division, even though the band wasn't around for so long, but let's just say they are one of the pioneers that gave music the sound of gothic, dark wave vibe. They were basically one of the pioneers that gave post-punk, the dark wave, gothic, whatever genres that were the darkest and not only the most very, I'm going to say that word Austin says that he pisses me off with. It was very euphoric types of sounds in music. That's the only time I'm going to say the word euphoric, because that's the only way I can best explain the fucking dark wave sound in the dark wave genre from new wave. I don't even know what the fuck I just said there, but I said it. But Joy Division wasn't a band. They started around in the late 70s. Ian Curtis, he was the lead singer. Then you had Peter Hook, you had Bernard Sumner, and you had Stephen Morris, who then ended up later after Ian Curtis's passing, become New Order. Blue Monday! Sorry, I got a little upset there again. But they later became New Order, carrying on the legacy from what they were able to give in Joy Division and transfer that into something that was more, no pun intended, something that was new, something that'll get people's attention, something to where they can not only find something in their own particular sound, but stick to their roots when they were not only Joy Division, but into this new project of New Order. And the fact that they were able to do that, starting off from the first album with that same gothic sound, then working their way into that new wave electronic synthesizing sound, is just absolutely uncanny. New Order's music is just experimental as can be, but we're not going to talk about New Order. We're here to talk about Joy Division. Their discography was not even that big at all. They only had 2 records. The 2 records that they have was obviously one of the most undoubtedly greatest masterpieces of all time. And you know what? I might as well show you folks, because I do happen to have those records in my stash, ironically enough, since we're here to talk about them. The 2 undisputed records from Joy Division. Unknown Pleasures, this film alone. Now, Ian Curtis, the poor guy, ended up suffering a lot. He had epilepsy, he had depression, he was dealing with a lot, not only mentally, but relationship-wise. God, he was going through so much. But the thing about Ian Curtis is that he was able to take his frustrations that not only he had with himself, but his personal life and his disabilities and disorders that he had, no pun intended. He was able to take that and put it right into the music. And if you listen to a record like this right here, you can hear the sorrow, you can hear the pain, you can hear the understanding of what he is feeling through the music. Now, my history is not correct. I don't think he wanted to do a second record, but a second record did come called Closer. But mostly, the film alone wasn't really talking about the record specifically, even though a lot of the songs were featured. It was mostly surrounding his particular life, of how he got into Joy Division, how he was able to get his fame, and exactly his disabilities, his disadvantages, and understanding that pain he was going through. So number 6 is Control. Came out in 2007. The film itself was in a black and white type of atmosphere, but the reason why it was in that black and white atmosphere is because it was to fit the mood. It was able to fit the mood and the setting of exactly of what Ian Curtis was going through. Now, Sam Riley, Another underrated actor who doesn't really get talked about. His portrayal as Ian Curtis, not only the way he was acting, but the fact that he was able to recreate his voice, his mannerisms that he was able to have on stage, to recreate and bring to life that spirit of who Ian Curtis is, and seeing that that retelling tale of who he is and getting that visual look. God damn. Actually, it is kind of with this film itself, I kind of have a right to talk about music because it is relating to the film. Plus, a little backstory to what it is before talking about the film was kind of necessary. Fucking butthole. But yes, this is a film that is worth watching. It is worth checking out. I wanted to check some stuff, and when I first came in contact with it, I've heard about it, but I never really came around to see it until a while back. I saw it and I couldn't believe it. It made me appreciate not only who Ian Curtis is, but the band Joy Division, appreciate them more as a particular group. But yeah, Joy Division, their music is just absolutely uncanny. It is just dark, sinister, well worth a listen to. Pioneers in the new wave genre and gothic post-punk. Okay, time for number 5, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you folks actually did mention this particular film not so long ago. Does the name Jennifer Lopez sound familiar to you? I sure as hell hope so. Now, she can be a hit or miss in the world of film, but it all depends exactly how you feel about her performances in movies. She's portrayed in some she's played in some stuff where her roles were not that great, and she played in some roles to where she was just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, she can really give a good performance if she wants to. This is definitely one of those films to where she not only looked the role, actually, I take that back. She didn't look the role. She was the role. Everybody familiar with Latin pop? Everybody knows that particular genre of Latin pop? No? Well, let me help you out here. For the ones who think Latin pop, what is the number one name that you can think of when it comes to Latin pop? Selena. She was a huge hit sensation. She was a teen idol. She was an absolute talent to really hit the market. Her look was just absolutely beautiful. She was a beautiful young woman. She was obviously gifted as a musician from a very young childhood age. She had the dancing, the look, the way she was able to sing. She was a natural born artist right then and there from a very young age to her teens, and the fact that she was able to create her own music and really showcase the talent that she had. Oh my God. She is just a voice. She was an undenied talent who was just taken away so soon. Number 5 is Selena. I know, it is absolutely insane that Jennifer Lopez looked absolutely like Selena. Jennifer Lopez was able to channel in that spirit, take it, and just really showcase in the movie who Selena was. And I believe that there is another series going on right now about her. I don't know what the name of it is, but I heard there is another series that's going a little bit more in-depth detail about who Selena is. But I think this movie enough really does justice of who she is, how she came up with some of the most infamous hits, how she came into the studio recording them, her look on stage, how she was able to sell out millions and millions of records to almost everybody, and she was just loved by everybody. It's a shame that she was taken away so young at a very young age, all because of a fucking woman who was supposedly her best friend killed her because of jealousy. Pisses you off, I know. It really does piss you off, exactly, that person who says, "Oh, this is my best friend," ended up killing him because they were fucking jealous. That ain't no friend. That's a person who's a fucking idiot. But getting back to the movie itself, from the early in-depth starts to her teen years, to playing in, just like how in any musician, playing in the small joints like clubs or bars, then getting the recording deal, then releasing a record, the obviously the song or whatever grows in the charts. Obviously, you get your royalties from it, and from there you become a hit sensation. You get naturally loved by the crowd by promoting your work on stage and getting diehard fans that will really support your music. And the fact that Selena was a very honest, loving, and good-hearted woman, and the fact that she definitely earned the name for Queen of, okay, please correct me if I'm wrong if I pronounce it badly, Queen of Tejano music. I think I butchered the name wrong, the Tejano word, but she earned that name, Queen of Tejano music, for a proper reason. She earned that title, and it's showcased. And yes, this was Jennifer Lopez's breakout role, and her performance in this film, again, she was the role. It's literally a standing ovation for the fact that she was able to really just hit it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, time for my number 4. We're not going to talk about music for a little bit. We're going to talk about the film. We're going to talk about a little bit of the film industry, just a little bit. A particular event that happened in the film industry. We're going back to the black and white. We're going back to the black and white type of genre, and the thing is that this film had a really investing cast. Now, when I say the name Tim Burton, what is the one biographical film that you folks think of? I'll let you all take a shy little guess. Exactly. You think of none other than Ed Wood. This is honestly one of the this film right here is what you can say is one of the greatest epic films, not only of all time, but in the cinematic world. You can say this is arguably the greatest biographical film ever made. One of Johnny Depp's greatest performances, Martin Landau's greatest performance. Hell, this film, fucking hell, Bill Murray, the role that he was able to have in this film, I couldn't believe he was able to do such serious roles like that. And knowing Bill Murray for doing comedies, the fact that he was able to channel in and do a serious role like that, it was just surprising and befuddling. Ed Wood, you all know exactly what it is. Ed Wood, the motherfucker is an outcast when it came to Hollywood. Him and his interactions with Bela Lugosi showcases exactly what can go on in the film industry, whether it's making a movie or the drama that goes behind making it, or the interactions that you have with someone, or a grudge that you hold off against a particular individual. God damn, folks. The memorable quotes in this film, the whole entire atmosphere, the interactions with everybody, the whole entire script, the script itself that was written was just fucking genius to no end. You can literally see the anger. You can see the stress. You can see the fucking feelings that everybody was portraying in this particular film. How they wanted to fucking murder each other because of the amount of stress that they were going through. But Martin Landau, everybody loved his performance as Bela Lugosi. The motherfucker just delivered to perfection. Again, give him some of the most memorable quotes out there. God damn. I might actually watch it again later on because it's that fucking awesome of a movie. But that right there, that's a little bit I could say about Ed Wood. It's well worth watching. I might talk about this at another time in more detail. But we'll have to wait and see. But let's go ahead and get to number 3, shall we? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. We went from talking about music to war to Hollywood. How does mobster sound? How does the fact that we go to the mobster world now? I think going into the mobster world is a splendid idea. Now, ladies and gentlemen, number 3. My number 3, once I show you all this particular title, I think you folks are going to be very satisfied. Or probably thinking, oh, this should be at least number 1, but no. I think my number 3 right here is a good pick, good placement for this particular film itself. You had an amazing cast. You had Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, because, well, Martin Scorsese uses those guys a lot in a lot of his films. You had Ray Liotta. You had a lot of particular people in this film that was just phenomenal. So, young boy grows up. He ends up getting in the mob. He enjoys his money life. He enjoys the luxury. He enjoys all the splendid natures that he was able to get. But the fact that this particular movie was able to give you folks that much more in-depth horror element of what can happen in the mob world is just ridiculous, but in a very good manner. Number 3 is Goodfellas. This film is just one of a kind. You can arguably say that this movie is the greatest mobster film of all time. Or, well, between this and Once Upon a Time in America, you can arguably debate and say which one is the better between the two. Hell, you can say that this one's the better one, or you can say Once Upon a Time in America is the better one. But this particular one here, since it was based off the true story of a particular figure in the world of the mobster world, the pros and cons, the rise and downfall, maybe rise again, downfall again, who knows? But the fact that they were going over the in-depth details of what is happening in the mobster world, of who we're dealing with, the betrayals that you go through, and the fact that if you become a rat, you're fucked. The in-depth details on how you become a made man, how you don't cross certain people in a certain way. It's just absolutely, there's no words to explain it, because once you sit down and see this movie, you're immediately thinking to yourself, what's there to expect? Because when you watch this, you don't really expect anything. This is one of those movies that I personally recommend and say, you got to go in blind to see. You can't know nothing about it, maybe who plays in it, but this is a film that you got to go in blind to see. Because if once you see this particular film, it's a 6 out of 5 immediately, or 11 out of 10, like certain people like to give 11 or 12 out of 10s or whatever. I don't know. But this is one of those movies that does fall into that category. This is the film where I can really say it's a masterpiece. Because it truly is a masterpiece to no end. All right, let's go ahead and get to number 2. I'm running out of breath a little bit. I'm talking too fast, and I'm just going on and on and on. All right, folks, time for number 2. Now, you're probably thinking, my number 2 and number 1, very interesting picks to have. But these were 2 films that I was just thinking, you know what? They deserve all the love that they can get. Not only portraying the role, but the emotion that was hit. The emotions that were given, the reenactments, and actually being 110% pinpoint accurate, going over those details. I think these 2 particular movies really defined of what a biographical film should truly be about. Really fitting in that genre, or really going over those details of what they were able to take in and turn it into basically watching the person's life 100% spot on. Number 2, ladies and gentlemen, this particular movie now, I remember when I saw this one a long time ago. I wasn't expecting much of it, but when I saw it, and after I did watch it, I actually put myself on a little history project for this particular one. I put myself a little history project on this to really go into more detail of learning who this particular individual was. Now, I'm not really saying this to be mean or harsh or speak ill. I'm just saying this to bring back some historical thing. Everybody knows about the sideshow acts, that there will be a particular individual. There'll be a particular individual who will have like a certain, they were born with a certain disability or a certain appeal about them that it's just, you know, it's just a little something you don't see every day. I'm trying to find the proper words to say without, not sounding too mean. But you'll see folks who, something that you not see every single day. I mean, there's girl born with 4 legs, or a, a guy born with lobster claws or lobster-like hands, or someone born with 2 faces, or, attached to each other. Because there was a movie, okay, those sideshows, sure, a lot of these folks did pretty well during the 1930s. A lot of these folks did well during the 1930s, being a success in the sideshow. But after the sideshows were done, well, I mean, it's hard to say what life became afterwards. But I'm just gonna get to the movie because I'm trying my best not to sound fucking mean or anything. I'm really not, because it's hard to find the words to really describe it. But this one is surrounding about a particular individual whose life was just very sad and depressing, especially, falling into this particular occupation and treated like shit, where clearly he was a lovable, good-hearted person who just wanted to be loved for who he was as a person. Despite how he looked on the outside, he wanted to be loved on the inside, because he was truly a gentleman. He defined the word gentleman. And the fact that this film really goes into detail explaining who this particular individual was, my God. I'm just going to show you all the title of what my number 2 is. And once you see it, you'll get the idea. So my number 2 is The Elephant Man. I remember watching this movie from start to end. It's emotional, because you can really be hit hard of this poor man got, Joseph Merrick. The fact that when you watch this movie and you see Anthony Hopkins' performances as his friend, as a doctor, Sir Frederick Trevis, I believe that's the proper pronunciation. Anthony Hopkins' portrayal as the doctor and as his friend, the one who took Merrick underneath his wing to not only help him speak, but give him a home, give him love, give him a proper life that he absolutely deserved. And the fact that this showcased that there are sinister people in this world who will be mean to folks no matter what. The point is that you're judging. It's like judging a book by its cover. Sure, the book itself on the outside may be a little different, but once you open it up and you start reading it from the first page into the very last chapter, you realize that this particular book is probably one of the greatest things that you've ever read in your entire life. And that's exactly the proper example that I can give about The Elephant Man, is that you're just basically judging a book by its cover without even reading it. But once you do read it, you realize that this particular book is one of the greatest things you ever read, and you do have a lot of apologies to really give for judging it. And this film showcases the harness and sinister that there are these types of people out there who really go all out and really treat someone like shit because of their outer appearance that they can't help or control. You grow so much sympathy for Joseph Merrick, for not just the movie showcasing it, but for who he was as an individual. This film was the particular accuracy. Seriously, this is, again, check this one out. It will really grab you by the heart. It is emotional as can be. Thus why the whole black and white appeal. All right, time for my number 1. This one is not only my all-time best biographical film, but it's also personally my favorite one. It's a music one, But I think it's absolutely right for this being my number one. And again, after all the ones I had to look through, I really had to stick true to myself on what I truly believe is my overall best and my favorite biographical film I've ever seen. But after watching this one, God knows how many times out of all the ones that I have put on this list, not only for the top 10, but for my honorable mentions as well, I think this one is a really good pick. If not, probably a great pick. This particular one, Jamie Foxx is a fucking talent. The guy can act, he can sing, he can do impressions, he can do comedy. This guy is just a fucking gem. He is another natural born talent. And the thing is that when he was able to play in this particular movie, when he was given this role, he wasn't the role. He didn't even act it. He was the role. He was that particular person. Once he played as Ray Charles, well, obviously, I might as well. Once he started playing as Ray Charles, from the sound, the look, the mannerisms, the way he was singing and playing, you just saw Ray Charles right there. You just saw Ray Charles's life right there. His marriages, his recordings, the drugs, and the fact that this film is not only reflecting the music that he has created, but this is one of those biographical films where it also reflects the inner demons as well of what a person goes through. The fact that they were going to add a dark part into a biographical film where it showcases the temptations and the inner demons that one goes through. I love how they really went into such in-depth, explicit details, showing that and showing those fears and those emotions of what Ray Charles feels and what he has a hard time letting go. And the fact that he was able to take all the emotions and the things that grew up from his roots from knowing gospel and gospel, R&B, and country and turn it into his own type of sound, and all the genius works that he was able to give a major influence, not only in R&B, gospel, and country world, but as an overall artist and appeal and a particular figure in music that folks can really look up to and just really appreciate and be inspired by the voice and the music that was written. Ray is an absolute masterpiece. And honestly, you can debatably say it's the greatest biopic ever. I can put it up there for me personally. But this film is not only my favorite, but for me, it is my overall best biographical film that I have ever seen. Well deserved the praise that it gets. I am all out of breath. I'm going to get the fuck out of here, folks. So with that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this little talk I was able to give you. I do apologize for stuttering. I do apologize for, reiterating certain things that I've said prior beforehand, repeating myself on occasions. I have a hard time trying to find proper words to explain myself in a way, so I end up repeating myself in order to get a particular explanation out. So I hope you all enjoyed this little talk, this little lecture, and in the comments down below, I would love to see you folks talk about your top 10, or you can say your favorite biographical films, or what is your overall number one. I would really greatly appreciate and interested to see what you folks have to say on what is your top 10 or top 5, 15, whatever the fuck it is, whatever list you want to give, I don't care. Your overall favorite or best biographical film. So with that being said, I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Have a good night.